Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new episode of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 304. I'm with my buddy Eric Holmes. Eric, how are you doing this week?
Let me check Google News and see. Oh, it looks like I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, it's some inside baseball stuff. We're going to talk about that in a second. These are movies for episode 304. Movies opening for the week of Friday, July 25th, the year 2025. The movies we are covering include House on Eden, Folktales. By the way, Bruce Purkey over in the attic right now. He is languishing in the attic as we speak. He has a review of this, I think, documentary called Folktales. There's a movie called Monster Island. I should put that I did this. I saw Monster Island. And finally, there's two more. There's a romantic comedy or romantic drama called Oh Hi. And finally, Star People. Eric Holmes has a review of Star People. Eric Holmes, you mentioned Google News. What can we tell to our CinemAddicts listeners? We're talking about people we are loyal to. We're loyal to Anderson Cowan. We love Magic Mind. We also have to ask our CinemAddicts listeners. We're loyal to them too, right? When it comes to this Google News stuff, right, Eric Holmes?
I would say so.
Okay.
I don't know how interesting they would find it, but
they would. What Eric Holmes is mentioning is my site, deepestdream.com. It's just one of the sites that we house CinemAddicts on. The other site is, of course, findyourfilms.com. But several days ago, deepestdream.com actually is now part of Google News. So, for example, if you go on Google, you type in news and type in a movie, there's a good chance that our coverage of that said movie will be somewhere in that search engine of Google News. So,
unless it's Superman, because we don't really talk about stuff like that.
Oh, how dare you, Eric Holmes? We just got into Google News 2 days ago. It's a Faustian bargain. We love Superman. CinemAddicts is only going to cover Superman, Kevin Feige, and Netflix movies. Did you not get the Bruce Purkey memo from the attic? This is F indie films. Well, Eric Holmes, the cinematic.
I'm gonna do my out of theater reaction for Fantastic Four: First Steps.
Are you? Oh, there. See, let me cap it. Eric Holmes just did a surprise face. I'm going to screenshot it, image capture it, and then upscale the image, and then we're going to put it on our Deepest Dream YouTube channel.
Greg, it's a family show. Don't use that surprise face.
The surprise face is called the O face, and that this is not. When I say O face, the letter O. This is again family show. We're not going to rebrand to Deepest Dream. That's just one of the things that we do. That's a website that houses CinemAddicts. We will still be true to the CinemAddicts game. And look, I hate to say it, even if we do get picked up by Google News with Superman reporting, I haven't done any Superman reporting yet. In all fairness, Eric, are you ever going to watch Superman? Possibly down the road, maybe when it hits streaming in the theaters?
I did.
Oh.
I liked it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You liked it. Should I see it? Was it better than Man of Steel?
They're different movies.
Oh.
Superman's a lot more comic booky. Man of Steel's a little more like trying. What if Superman was real and dark and gritty? But I like Man of Steel. I like Superman. I think all the Snyder bros on the Twitters need to watch other movies.
Well, I like it. I like it.
There are other movies in the world other than the Snyder movies. And when you start watching those, it'll open up a whole wide world of wonderments and dreams. And you'll be like, holy crap. Man of Steel is great, but I did not know Psycho Gorman existed. Holy crap. Let's go see what that's all about.
That's very
now you're off to the races.
Eric Holmes will be off to the races later in this episode because after we're done with our 5 reviews, or 4 reviews actually, he will be doing reviews of The Woman in the Yard and Eddington. So Eric Holmes has a very busy episode this week. How's your week been before we get to reviews? Anything new? Anything exciting?
As far as like outside of watching movies, not so much.
Okay.
Not a whole lot going on. Doing some writing.
Okay.
Playing some Blood on the Clock Tower. Usual stuff.
Okay. All right. How many hours a week do you spend on Blood on the Clock Tower, you think?
Too many.
That's 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week? Good.
I cut
15.
It used to be. I cut way down from that. But I will be, I think I mentioned this before, I will be going to Clock Tower Con in October in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And so if anyone's in the Las Vegas, it's the weekend of the 23rd. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, I think.
Nice.
And my birthday's on the 22nd, so basically going there for my birthday.
Oh, are you excited?
Just gonna play some. Oh yes. Yeah. Going with some friends, and then I will get to meet some friends that I met through playing Blood on the Clock Tower online. So that'll be fun. There's a guy, I don't know what his real name is. He goes by Atreides, but he's got if you go on YouTube and look up Atreides Blood on the Clock Tower, you'll see his videos on there.
Right.
I'm not on many of them. I'm on a lot of earlier ones, but like whenever he's streaming, I'm usually not home, so I don't usually go on there. But I'll get to see him at the Clock Tower Con. But yeah, if you go on Blood on the Clock Tower, look up Blood on the Clock Tower Atreides on YouTube, you'll find his videos, and his videos are fun as hell to watch. And it'll give you an idea of how the game's played. So if you do want to play online, you can do so for free, and that'll be a good entryway. Oh, this is what Eric's looking at about.
How many years?
And you'll either go, yes, I get it, or you'll be like, I have no idea, but hey, good for him.
Okay. How many years have you been into this? Blood on the Clock Tower? 5 years? 4 years? 3 years?
I could look up the app because it's got when I joined the app, so it'd probably be like a half year before that.
Oh, interesting.
But
okay, so
at least a couple years, yeah.
Oh, very cool. So if you were independently wealthy, we got the Google News situation. If we become me, you, and Bruce, and even Anderson's not going to get as big as me, you, and Bruce, because we got the oil well here, Eric. Okay, so we're going to go from truffle burgers to all the burgers we want with its Google News situation.
We're going to get that clock tower money.
Clock tower money. If you become wealthy, Eric, are you going to just stay at home all day and just play Blood on the Clock Tower? Is that a rich man's dream, what one would say?
It's not a bad way to spend your life, I don't think. I probably should do other things like talk to people and
that's overrated,
go to the
Eric.
Bathroom and stuff. But you know,
I'm okay with it going to the bathroom and stuff. But talking to people, I just talk to you and Bruce, and that's our CinemAddicts listeners. Yeah. That's it.
I guess you talk to people playing Blood on the Clock Tower. That is the entire point of the game.
All right, so Eric Holmes will have a link to Blood on the Clock Tower. He'll put it on the Google Notes, and I'll likewise put that on our show descriptions for CinemAddicts, so you can actually see. If you trust Eric Holmes as a purveyor of interesting taste and passion, you can check out Blood on the Clock Tower and see if it's for you or not. I would leave a link to something I'm interested in as well, but I don't know. Everything to me is just all 4-star. Eric, what am I going to say? Do I have an opinion? Have I had an opinion in 5 years or 6 years?
You've had wonderful opinions.
Oh, thank you, Eric Holmes.
You don't like to tell them to people, but I know you have them.
Okay. Are you saying I'm a little bit fake? I'm like, do I work with a facade? Or a facade? Facade? Is this face facetious? What?
I would say, I think one time you had a 1-star review.
Yes, possibly.
That was an exciting moment.
Okay, enough said. Let's get to the movies for this week. Again, for the week ending or beginning, however you want to see it, Friday, July 25th. We have a movie called House on Eden. Bruce Purkey over at Attic. He has a review of it coming soon. But this movie centers on paranormal investigators Chris Salina and their videographer, Jay. They go through scares when they set out on their latest case. But after, by the way, I'm reading plot summary. But after being mysteriously rerouted to an abandoned house deep in the woods, they find themselves facing a force unlike anything they've encountered before. This is the feature debut from content creators Chris Collins and Selena Myers. They've amassed an audience of over 75 million TikTok followers. The film is written and directed by Collins. It's only 78 minutes, and it's in theaters June 25th. I'm going to cough right now, Eric Holmes. Why don't you take it away and tell me what you think of this movie?
First of all, this is found footage. So obviously one of the things you just got to deal with found footage is shaky cam. They really lean into the shaky cam on this to the point I had to look away from the screen a couple times because this is just too much.
How much percentage should they have toned down the shaky cam on House on Eden?
90. Probably. The shaky cam went a little, got a little too much. Because I get it's found footage and I want to keep that sort of aesthetic. But at the same time, it's not found footage. It's a found footage, what they call cinema verite. You want it to seem like that. You want it to have that kind of look to it. But that doesn't mean it's still edited. So you don't need to edit in all the parts where they're sitting there looking at the ground, trying to turn the camera on. You're allowed to take those parts out.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Selena Myers. I am familiar with Chris Collins. I didn't know that was her name. I just seen her videos pop up. And so when she popped up in the movie, I was like, oh, like I didn't know it was her right away, but I was like, gosh, she looked familiar. And I couldn't quite place her until about about a third of the way into the movie, it was like, oh, is that the, she does those videos about the, like, real insightful about kind of human interactions and relationships, but they're like real funny and comedic. And then the fact that she wrote and directed this, it's strange because this is not really a horror comedy. In fact, there's very little comedy in this other than random friends like doing friend things. But I wouldn't call this a horror comedy at all. In fact, towards the last third of this movie, the last third where the shaky cam starts to calm down a bit, it gets pretty dark, pretty serious business. And so it's interesting that Chris Collins would go that route with this movie. It's kind of similar to when Jordan Peele did Get Out. It's like, oh, Jordan Peele, he's a comedy guy. Well, let's see what this Get Out's about. And then they watch Get Out and it's like, oh, whoa, hey. Uh, he went straight up horror on this. And so it took everyone by surprise. I would say, although, so I went to Chris Collins's YouTube channel, and I guess she does like stuff on true crime too. So maybe this isn't so far out of her wheelhouse. It's just out of her wheelhouse as far as I was familiar with her. As far as a movie goes, I would say like the last third gets really good. The first two thirds are they lean a little too much into the tropes of found footage that I find most annoying, specifically the camera work. But once they get into the house and once the sort of supernatural stuff kind of starts taking shape, I really liked it. They go to the house, they decide they're going to leave, and then the next thing they know, they all wake up. Like they all just go to sleep at the same time. And then they wake up the next day and they're like, what the hell happened? And then from that point on, it gets pretty good. Everything leading up to that, I would say
Was it
heavy
worth?
epilepsy warning.
Oh,
Heavy epilepsy warning. If you get any sort of motion sickness, be very wary of this. There's a huge barrier to entry to this, but if you can get to the last third of the movie, I think it's probably worth it as far as found footage movies go. If you don't like found footage movies at all, then sorry, this is not your movie.
okay, but it's a good found footage movie then. Which are you?
It's a decent found footage movie once you get to the final third. And again, that's kind of an inherent problem with found footage is that there's been certain like Deadstream. Deadstream did the found footage, but it was funny, but it had cool effects in it, and it rode that line of horror comedy, but it was a movie that you could get into. It had the found footage tropes, of course, but it didn't get in the way of it also being an entertaining movie. I think this kind of just comes off, hey, we got a camera and let's make a movie and just see what we can come up with.
Nothing wrong with that, right?
No,
Yeah.
there's not. But also, and again, I'm not familiar with Linda Myers, but with Chris Collins, who wrote and directed this, like she's got so much insight on her YouTube, but like even though they're comedic, she has so much insight on certain social and human interactions that are interesting, which I think is what makes them funny and humorous. And so I was hoping there would be some of that here in House on Eden, but I didn't get much of that. There's certainly some dread, especially like towards the end, but I was hoping for a little bit more, and it didn't really do a lot to bump the found footage genre forward. It just stayed within that. Perhaps that the over shaky cam throughout most of it was a comment on found footage movies, but that's a commentary that we don't need because we already know that that's probably one of the more annoying things about found footage. I think if this was made not as a found footage movie, but as a narrative feature, and they took more with the characters and the script and the filmmaking, there's a good sort of mystery to this, and there's a good sort of like supernatural element to this that I really liked. And the last shot suggests a bigger world than what we've seen up to that point. And I'd be interested to explore that. But this movie just kind of hints at it. It doesn't really go there. I think a House on Eden 2 that is actually a narrative feature, not a found footage, and leans in a little more and have Chris, she's a talented writer, use some of that insight and the cleverness of her writing in something like this and make something truly magnificent as it is. It's just a decent found footage movie where like the last third is kind of the best part, but it takes a lot to get there.
What is your final rating Yeah, I guess.
I'm
It's found footage film.
I probably go 2.5 on this just for the final third, and that's judging it as a found footage movie. If I'm judging it as just a movie, it'd probably be like 1.5, 2 stars.
Okay, so that is 2.5 stars, I guess, 2.5 stars for House on Eden, which a little bit disappointed. Let's see what maybe Bruce will like it, or maybe he might even give it a lower review. I don't know. Check out Bruce's
Yeah.
review in a few
That
moments.
the weird thing is, I know there's some of our listeners that actually do like legitimate like found footage movies. I would like them to watch this and get their take on this. Because just in general, I'm not a fan of found footage because of all the reasons I mentioned. But I wonder if maybe people that are more into found footage, like the found footage I like are like Deadstream or oh crap, what was the
Dead
name of that?
Stream, what the
No, the one with the couple and they go find a homeless person and kill them. I can't remember. It'd been so long. Capture, kill, release.
Capture Kill Release. Okay, very good.
Yeah. Those are movies that kind of they play within the genre, but they also push it forward. And yeah, it's just doesn't do that. I
Mm,
wish it would, but oh
okay.
well.
So that is House on Eden, 2.5 stars from Eric Holmes. And by the way, I forgot to actually mention it is going to be in theaters exclusively on Friday, July 25th.
Ooh,
Let us
watch out for that.
watch out, watch out for that.
I,
All right.
I saw it on TV screen. That started making me sick. On a big screen, I can't imagine.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so next up is Monster Island. I reviewed this one, and unfortunately, hopefully Eric gets to see Monster Island because he has a buddy of his who is in the movie. I don't want just a person that he likes his. I'll get to him in a sec. I'll get to this person in a second, and Eric can talk a little bit about him too as well. Monster Island, based on Malay folklore and drawing inspiration. I think the kids call it inspo these days, Eric Holmes. They call it instead of inspiration, they go inspo. You ever use the word
Kids these
inspo?
days don't use full words.
So drawing inspiration, not inspo, from creature from the Black Lagoon. This feature is set in World War II, actually specifically 1942. There's a Japanese ship called the Hell Ship, and what this Hell Ship does is that it transports just British like POWs during World War II, and they do experiments on them, they torture them, and this Hell Ship is going back to Japan with a bunch of people. Two of these people are chained together. One of them is a British POW played by Caleb Woodhouse. The other is a Japanese man who's chained up to this British POW for a specific mysterious reason, and that person is played by Dean Fukuoka. So these are the main actors, Dean Fukuoka and Caleb Woodhouse. Again, but Caleb Woodhouse is the POW, and Dean Fukuoka is the Japanese person who is possibly a convict, possibly a killer. Who knows? He is tied to this. They're chained together. That movie, The Defiant Ones, with Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier, it has a little bit of that trope in it. What happens is this Japanese ship situation is only a few minutes long because what happens is there's an attack, there's a torpedo, the ship blows up. Most of the people on the ship die instead. But pretty much almost everyone dies except these two people, these two prisoners who are still chained together, but they're actually now out in the middle of a seemingly deserted island. Okay. And I'm sure they're thanking their lucky stars that they survived it. But the problem is one's Japanese, one's British. They're chained together. The first thing they do is when they look at each other, they're trying to survive and they start doing fisticuffs and they start beating on each other and whatnot. And who knows, maybe they might kill each other until a mysterious creature attacks the British POW. And you're wondering, okay, they're not each other's, they may not be friends, but maybe they need to, even if they're enemies, maybe they should team up and figure out what mysterious creature or entity just tried to attack that British POW. The rest of the movie deals with these two men getting to know each other. Unfortunately, they only get to know each other not through language. One of them speaks English, one of them speaks Japanese. So there's a lot of miscommunication, but they end up teaming up to figure out if there is a creature in the island and can they survive without being killed by this creature known as the orangutan. And it's a creature played by Alan Maxon. Eric Holmes, Alan Maxon, I believe that's his name. How do you don't know Alan Maxon yourself? Can you tell our listeners?
I was the director of Alien Planet. We did an interview with him on like probably half hour long, something like that. It was a pretty long interview.
You love that movie. You love Alien Planet.
Yeah, I was kind of a scrappy kind of enemy B movie kind of thing. It was fun, and he was also the sandworm at the Oscars. So usually he plays creatures a lot in movies and stuff, but yeah, he was a cool guy. So I'm cool to see he's still doing stuff. And I guess he's got a new movie coming out pretty soon. Let me see.
Oh, I'm sure you're probably excited about that. But yeah, while you
Uh,
look,
Party of Darkness.
hmm,
Looks like he's directing that one, and he's probably starting that as well.
okay.
Um,
So
yeah,
that's Alan Maxon, and he is the orangutan in this movie called Monster Island. The actual original title is called Orangutan, and that's a little bit more memorable. But I guess for stateside, for people in North America, maybe Monster Island would be more palatable. Not exactly, in my opinion, a memorable title, but the movie itself is memorable because it's directed and written by Mike Wilwan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but armed with not too much of a budget, he crafts a very tight narrative. It's only 83 minutes, Eric. 83 freaking minutes. I know House on Eden was 78 minutes, but this one at 83 minutes for a movie about two men trying to escape a creature a, in an island. It's pretty intense and with not too much money to boot. And the movie
I
looks, yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I should point out, and again, I should also give House on Eden props for that. And just the movies in general, at least the ones we've been getting, have been relatively short, like hour and a
Yeah,
half or less. And we've had movies with a lot of plot depth, character depth, emotional depth, and they get all that done in hour and a half time, as opposed to 2.5 hour movies where it's like you're just staring at a wall through most of this time. I don't think this needed to be the 2.5 hours you thought it did. You probably could have
exactly.
taken all those extraneous scenes out and probably cut it down to an hour and a half.
Yeah, and Eric, to your point with Monster Island, is there a lot of backstory? Is there a lot of touchy-feely moments? Is there a lot of getting to know you situations? On one hand, you have 83 minutes, and even sometimes some are able to do this. There's not a lot of world building with Monster Island. That said, I didn't mind it. It's just a great mechanism. It's two people trying to survive. They can't communicate via language, and this monster is very deadly. And also, practical effects, real Alan Maxon in costume as a monster is cool, right? As opposed to VFX or CGI, it's great to see a real creature feature movie with an indie budget. And I think for the most part, this movie at 83 minutes, it works. It's a tight, good action narrative. And the fact that it's set in this island, you get some really beautiful locales. I think there's a sequence in a cave and by a waterfall. And there's the use of the island is really well done. And for an indie film, this is a very immersive 83-minute genre film, creature feature genre film. So I enjoy also very good performances by Dean Fukioka and Callum Woodhouse. They're very good in this movie. My rating on Monster Island, again, running on 83 minutes and streaming on Shudder on Friday, July 25th, I'm giving it 4 stars. A
I would
solid,
say Alan Maxon is the Andy Serkis of practical costumes.
of
Or Andy
excellence.
Serkis does the motion capture, you get Andy Serkis. You want the practical costumes, you get Alan Maxon.
And he's very good as orangutan. Okay, so would love to hear what you guys think of Monster Island. Hopefully, some of you really enjoy this 83-minute movie. It seems like a small scale B movie, and although it wears its hat really well within this genre, and it surprised me at how pretty good it was. It was a really good movie. 4 stars for me. Next up is a movie called Oh Hi, not Oh Hi, the city in California, or it's more Oh Hi, Oh Hi, Eric,
Oh,
how are you? Oh Hi. And
oh,
unfortunately, what Eric said is Oh. That is a precursor of my review to Oh Hi.
oh.
This movie, it's oh. Iris is played by actress Molly Gordon. You might have seen her recently, the last couple of seasons in The Bear. And so Molly plays a woman named Isaac. She has a boyfriend. No, Iris has a boyfriend named Isaac. Iris is played by Molly Gordon. Isaac is played by Logan Lerman. They have a romantic weekend getaway out in a nice home out in the, not in the woods, in the forest, but it's just a nice upstatey New Yorky kind of thing. I believe it's set around that area. But I like Molly Gordon. I like Logan Lerman. They're a young couple. They're hanging out. Everything. The Isaac makes dinner for Iris, and they have a nice dinner. They have some nice, really great banter out by they go by the nearby lake, and they skinny dip a little bit, and they frolic, and then They see David Cross. He plays a neighbor who says, no, having in the lake, you guys will get in trouble. There's some nice little comedic moments at the beginning. There's the getting to know you part. The first act is nice because you're trying to wonder where this relationship is going to go in this weekend. But what happens is during a period after, during coitus, during sex, what happens is Isaac and Iris, they do some kind of dominatrix get up role playing situation. And actually, that surprisingly goes well until it doesn't, because Isaac is actually handcuffed to the bed. And while he's handcuffed to the bed, Iris is saying, wow, this is great. And something like, I can't believe we're a serious couple and whatnot. And he says, what are you talking about? We're just hooking up. And they have this situation where she's saying, what? We've been seeing each other for 4 months. I thought we're a real couple. And he said, no, we're not. So there's a miscommunication there. And maybe Isaac should have shut his trap because he's still in handcuffs. He's still chained to the bed. And Iris decides to keep him chained to the bed, handcuffed to the bed for 12 hours. So she eventually...
So it's like
Gerald's game, possibly Misery, that situation.
Yeah.
And
a quick tip.
Yeah.
If you're bound in any sort of way, don't answer questions.
Yeah,
and if you do, answer them in the way that you think they may want to hear them.
Yes.
Don't be honest until you're no longer bound.
Excellent piece of advice, Eric. Movie co-stars Geraldine Viswanathan and Josh Reynolds. They play friends of Iris who show up later in the story. The movie's directed and co-written by Sophie Brooks. The other co-writer is Molly Gordon. The running time's 94 minutes. It's in theaters nationwide July 25th. What does this premise sound okay? Guy's chained up and he has to figure out for 12 hours.
I mean, he's clearly an idiot for reasons I just explained, but otherwise, pretty solid premise, I think.
It is a solid premise. How is the execution? The execution for me is unmemorable. Tries to change different tones from comedic to serious, and as much as I like the chemistry and the charisma overall of Molly Gordon and Logan Lerman as actors, I like them. They're both talented. The movie was just a very mediocre and forgettable experience for me. The wrap up is just, they work together well as actors. I just felt the writing of the story wasn't completely on point. What it had to say, I understood what it had to say, but it didn't really land for me. The theme didn't land for me. The execution, the tense moments. It's a tense situation. I didn't really feel tense at all. There's some nice little intrigue, seemingly interesting twists, but they're ultimately not interesting. This was a big blah for me, and I was surprised with the talent involved. 94 minutes. Oh, hi. I'm going to say, oh no. Usually I'm a 3.5, 4-star guy, but I'm giving oh, hi 2 stars. I do not recommend this movie.
You were talking about like the comedic and serious, the tones, like those, like we mentioned Deadstream. It leans mostly on comedy, but it gets serious sometimes, and that can work. Why doesn't it work on this one?
Great question.
I think when you say that, oh, is it funny? Is it serious? It's we don't know. I think some people see that as like a general, like it can't work, and it absolutely can. But I think like in certain situations, probably need to be more specific as to why that's not working.
Okay, excellent question, Eric. I'll give you another example. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yes,
very funny, very dramatic. It changes tones all over the place, and it's seemingly haphazardly edited, which it's not. It's intended to be like a masterpiece of a movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh Hi has none of those flourishes. It just does not work from the script, which to me was unconvincing. There was not a believable, maybe a couple of believable moments towards the beginning, but I just did not believe the premise. I just did not believe in these characters, the overall execution. And it's a story that felt to me, it was just too flat and it laid there. Kind of like the people I've dated in the past, but that's not true. It's probably me and the women who've dated me that felt that way about me. Who knows? A little bit TMI, but Oh Hi, it just doesn't work overall. That's why I'm giving it oh no. Yeah, 2 stars for Oh Hi. I am so sad that I have to give it a rare, just not C. So that is it for Oh Hi.
Not C.
Oh yes, there you go. Also, there is one of the comedic elements is Iris and Isaac, they look at Oh Hi because the sign is actually, it's supposed to be maybe Oh Hi spelled differently. and both of them see the sign differently. That's supposed to be comedy, and it wasn't amusing to me. There's also a strawberry sequence, which was supposed to be amusing to me, and just did not work. All right, guys. So that is it for, yes, like Eric says, what's the name of the movie, Eric?
Ohio.
Ohio, right? Very good. All right, 2 stars for me. Next up, Star People, Eric Holmes. March 13th, 1997. There were a bunch of people, thousands of people in Arizona witnessed the Phoenix Lights, and it was, quote, the largest mass UFO sighting in U.S. history. And years later, it was, by the way, back then, it was witnessed by a 10-year-old girl named Claire. Now, years later, she's an adult, played by Kat Cunning. Claire is a photographer, still chasing that Phoenix Lights moment, and a mysterious tip leads her deep into the Arizona desert with her UFO streamer boyfriend, played by Connor Paulo, and her troubled brother, played by McCabe Sly, in tow. And they encounter a vulnerable immigrant family whose plight complicates her mission. I just listened to Eric's interview with the director, Adam Finberg. And it's interesting because a lot of the interview deals with how this movie is not just a UFO movie. There's a lot of different layers to Star People, which is in theaters July 25th, and it's on VOD August 12th. Eric, what can you tell us about Star People?
I can tell you this is a great movie. It's so you read the plot synopsis. That's not quite how much I got going in. I just knew that it was UFO chasers or maybe conspiracy theorists. I thought that's kind of what I was looking for. People's, ooh, what's Area 51 really hiding? That sort of thing. And it's not exactly that. So Claire, she's the one that wants to chase UFOs. Her brother, Taylor, I think she's like not like a half brother or step brother, perhaps, I think. But it shows them as kids and they're sitting outside looking at the sky because their parents are inside yelling at each other. And she sees some lights and and then it cuts to her as an adult. And that her seeing those lights as a kid sparked her curiosity leading up into adulthood to where she wants to find different UFO sightings and whatnot. And so she goes to a place that she's her and her friend, I believe it was Justin, they decide that they're going to go to this area and go look for some UFOs. Then they hook up with some locals in the area that'll allow them to stay like kind of in this trailer. It's just out in the middle of nowhere. They get there, and that's where they're going to stay until night, and then they'll go out looking for the UFOs and then report back to the trailer. And then the one guy, he believes in UFOs, but he's more concerned about drones. So they both get to work together. Like she gets to get the video and she gets access to this area. And if she gets UFO sightings, that's great for her. But if she gets good video of it and it turns out they're drones, that's good for him because now he knows. And so they're working together. But her brother's in tow because he's got nowhere to stay and he's sort of a junkie. Not sort of a junkie, he is a junkie. He causes problems for him. And almost he keeps him from doing that. He's constantly, where Claire and Justin's trying to do the thing, like his brother's constantly getting in the way of that and almost effing it all up at every turn. But then when they get to that house, they meet dad and his daughter, and they cross the border from Mexico, and they just got stuck there, and his daughter's dehydrated. And then so you have the dichotomy of looking for extraterrestrial aliens and then the illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. You have the brother's addiction problem, and then you have paired with Claire's addiction of a different sort. Her focus looking for UFOs, and so it takes all these different sort of things and shows different parallels to them. So it's not we have the illegal immigrant issue paired up with the alien issue, and how they could compare and contrast in interesting ways, and how addiction and obsession also compare and contrast in different ways. Where Claire, she's just a UFO hunter, not a big problem, but it's a complete obsession with her to the point where it's affecting her life. But her brother, who has a drug addiction, he doesn't get the same kind of leeway that she does. And the movie kind of puts a mirror to all sorts of stuff like that. And it goes in interesting direction that I did not think it was going to go. I thought this was going to be hey, we're going to hunt for UFOs, and it turned out to be a lot more thoughtful social look on just humanity and how we interact with each other.
Oh, very cool. It sounds very interesting.
Very interesting. And what I just said sounds kind of like pretentious, but it also does that in really interesting way, because that you're still dealing with illegal immigrants, and Ricardo and his daughter, you fall in love with them, you start to care for them, and then so when you start seeing them in peril, it's not just let's watch family do family thing. You're actually invested in these characters, and when they're put in peril, when he starts getting all crackheady and starts going out at night, and then Claire comes home from her UFO trip, and she's like, "Where's my brother at? I don't know. He came at me with a knife and then just ran off. We don't know where he's at." And then they find him like almost dead in the desert with the cactus needles all over him. So it's not just dry family drama. There's also some, suspense and some, I don't want to say action, but thrilling elements throughout. And this is just a really dang good movie, and you should watch it.
Okay, Star People in theater July 25th and August 12th on VOD. Genre fans will not be cheated from this movie. They get some genre.
I think genre fans slightly disappointed because it's not the movie they're looking for, but I think they might turn around and go, "This is not what I thought, but I'm still watching." This is not what I wanted, and this sucks. This is not what I wanted, but this is probably better than what I wanted.
Oh, that's very high praise. Star People.
Yeah.
What's your rating?
5 stars.
Oh, 5 stars from
Yes.
Eric Holmes in theater July 25th and August 12th on VOD. My goodness, huge 5-star rating from Eric Holmes. Finally, we have a couple of very quick mini reviews from Eric Holmes. He's got The Woman in the Yard in Eddington. Eric, I will leave. The floor is yours. Which movie do you want to start off with first?
I guess let's go with Eddington. That's probably the one that most people have seen by this point, I'm sure.
Yeah, Eddington. They call it a COVID movie. It's Ari Aster. His movie. I don't know if you were a fan.
Well, it's not a COVID movie in that they shot it during COVID, so it's lesser production value. This is a movie about COVID, like during that time. This had to have taken place after Joe Biden won the election, I imagine, because the people are pretty solidified in their mask, no mask stance. The Republicans don't want to wear masks. Democrats do want to wear masks. And it's kind of all over the place. It much like Star People, it touches on a lot of things. This one's kind of more messy because it doesn't feel like it has any sort of focus to it. Sort of just being like an amalgamation of a bunch of stuff that happened during that time. But anyway, Joaquin Phoenix, he's a sheriff in Eddington. And you can tell that he doesn't want to wear a mask, and there's other people that do wear masks. And so Pedro Pascal is like the mayor of Eddington. And Pedro Pascal, he's a mayor. He's going to wear the mask, and I'm here for the safety of Eddington and all this. They come to blows at some point where they're debating on whether or not they should wear the mask. Joaquin Phoenix is like, it makes it hard to breathe. That was never the issue, but that was the excuse for sure. And so Joaquin Phoenix decides that he's going to run for mayor. And then it's a whole thing. I could go on further, but not that I'm worried about giving stuff away. But much like Beau's Afraid, it just goes all over the place. So it's hard to focus a review on this when the movie doesn't seem that focused. It's throwing everything at the table, seeing what sticks.
Yes, one Emma Stone, Austin Butler. Do they have?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Emma Stone's in it for 5 seconds.
And Austin Butler's in it for 5 seconds too, or it's small.
I honestly don't remember Austin Butler in it. I'll take your word for it that he was in it. But if he was in it, I did not see him. He came and went quickly. They do have the Black Lives Matter movement. So with the Black Lives Matter movement, in Eddington, it's all white kids that they don't seem genuine in their anger towards police. It seems more like they're following a meme, which I guess I can see in certain ways because that's what it turned into in real life. The whole idea of Colin Kaepernick doing a Nike commercial. Us here at Nike believe in Black Lives Matter, except for the children in our sweatshops that make our shoes. They don't, but the ones in America, like there were certain aspects of these kind of movements And I guess maybe that's what Eddington's about. Perhaps the less, what would you call it? The less serious or I don't know how I would describe it. It's like the dishonest version of any argument that ever happened during COVID. The dishonest aspects of Black Lives Matter, the dishonest versions of wear a mask, don't wear a mask, the dishonest versions of the I guess they didn't really get into the vaccine thing because I don't think that was a thing during that time. But yeah, it was a thing. And much Bo was afraid, the movie just sort of ended.
Oh gosh. You're not going to give us a good
'Cause
rating. Is this a good rating on Eddington?
I not really.
What's your
So I'm starting to come to the conclusion that I don't think I like Ari Aster's movies. I thought the Hereditary was fine. Midsummer was good. Didn't like Beau is Afraid. I like this one better than Beau is Afraid, but this one's kind of a mess all over the place. What's weird is that if you're going to do a COVID movie and then you have an election going on in Eddington, I don't know why they didn't touch on something that no one ever talks about with COVID is that because when COVID first hit, Donald Trump was president, and you saw political parties change their thoughts on how we should deal with COVID based on because Donald Trump was the president, then Joe Biden became president, and all of a sudden started seeing people thoughts on things change like 180 degrees. Like when Donald Trump was president, the whole idea of taking a vaccine for COVID was like, I don't know. You would see a video of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden saying, I don't know, if Donald Trump was president, I don't know that I'd take the vaccine. And then as soon as Joe Biden's the president, it's like everyone must take the vaccine. And now the Democrats say take the vaccine, and the Republicans say don't trust. But it has nothing to do with the vaccine. It's all based on which political party says it. So Eddington is set up. It's set during an election. It would have been cool to have that sort of issue that happened during COVID kind of looked at, played with, but that's not what they did here. It was just much like this review. It was all over the place, a mess. Sorry, but
So you're saying
did not like Eddington.
So 2 stars on Eddington then. You put on Google.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 stars from Eric Holmes from Eddington. Finally, we have The Woman in the Yard. Hopefully this is going to be more straight to the point because Eddington was not a straight to the point movie.
So this one isn't either, but this one kind of works. Well, I guess to be fair, Eddington kind of sort of is a poem because it's not so much about the narrative story, but it's about the broader picture. It's just I don't think it was done very well. Woman in the Yard is different. You have Ramona, played by Daniel Deadweiler, and her children, Taylor and Annie. And they are in this house. Their power's shut off. Their dad had died, presumably in a car wreck. You know, you kind of get like little hints of that, and you get more information as the movie goes on. But their power's out. Their car doesn't work. They're like the dog throws up. And the mom, Ramona, is like, why do you feed them people food? It was like, why do you give them dog food? Like, we don't have dog food. So you see they're running out of food. They're not doing well. And all of a sudden they look outside and there's a woman in the yard. She's wearing a black veil sitting on this throne. And they're like, where'd she come from? Not only where did she come from, where'd she get that chair? Well, Ramona, she goes outside to talk to the woman and she starts speaking cryptically. And Ramona goes back inside, locks the doors, tells the kids to stay inside. And you start seeing Taylor, her son, he starts getting defiant. Like he's not trusting his mom. And you don't quite understand why until the movie goes on and you start realizing like a bunch of stuff narratively doesn't make sense. But that's because this is not a typical narrative feature. And as the movie goes on, you'll either see that the plot's falling apart or you'll see what this movie is going for, that this is not about a story. This is a visual representation or a visual poem of someone going through PTSD and depression and trying to like overcome grief, go through grief and trying to overcome depression at the same time. And The Woman in the Yard is less of a horror movie in the traditional sense and more of a horror movie in the psychological sense of this isn't a one-to-one representation of what happens to you, but this is like a visual representation of what could be happening to you because when you're depressed, your mind's playing tricks on you. Your mind's trying to tell you you're less than what you're worth. Your mind's trying to give you every reason to end your life when that's just, patently false. It's this movie kind of plays with that. On a filmmaking aspect of it, this is excellent because like a lot of stuff they do with the woman in the yard, she has again, I said this is not really something you should follow narratively because it's more of a poem, but her character has like these sort of supernatural shadow powers. And just from a nuts and bolts filmmaking perspective, what they do with the shadows and like how they interact the shadows with the background. A shadow hand will come and knock a chandelier, and then you'll see the chandelier move, stuff like that. Like that hand will come up and like swipe over and knock someone over. It does a bunch of stuff like that. There was a cool shot with Ramona and the Shadow Woman sitting next to each other, and then you see their shadow on the wall, and then you see the mirror, but only Ramona's there and the Shadow Woman isn't. Like they got a bunch of really cool shots like that. I think Vampire, the old, I think it was a 20s, 30s movie, black and white one. It had that cool shot with the ladder, what they did with the shadow. They do, and you watch. That's like one of those shots. Like even way back in the day, you watch that and go, "How the hell did they even pull that off?" Like I don't even understand why I just saw it. That just looked cool. Woman in the Yard has like a bunch of shots like that. Now, granted, Woman in the Yard probably used CGI in some of that, but it looks like some of it they use practical. It's hard to tell. The special effects in this are really top notch because it's hard to tell whether they use practical or CGI. And if you can be as invisible as that is pretty good as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this is 2 for 2 Daniel Deadweiler movies, The 40 Acres and Now Woman in the Yard. I'm probably going to watch the TV Glow since she's in that and watch everything else she's in. Daniel Deadweiler, she seems to be pretty good at just finding bangers.
Oh, is she this year's Kyle Gallner for you, Daniel Deadweiler?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Probably go 4.5 on this one.
Yeah, cool.
Because I like 40 Acres a lot more than this one, but this one's really, really good. I would definitely recommend it. But again, don't watch it as the plot's going to start not making sense. You got to just go with it because this is like a dream becomes like a dream logic, a poem. This is not trying to tell you a typical story. It's trying to get at things in a little different way.
People will be disappointed in The Woman in the Yard if what, Eric? If what?
If you're looking for a straight narrative story that makes traditional sense.
Okay.
You gotta watch this movie as a poem, and I think the movie feeds you the weirdness slow enough to make that make sense. Like Mother, she's Mother.
Sure.
And it starts off like a normal movie, but as the movie goes, it starts getting more and more insane, and then you start to realize about halfway through that, oh, this isn't. I'm not supposed to follow the plot here. This is supposed to mean something else.
Okay.
That I'm not following a story from A to B. This is telling more of an emotion or a point of view in a different way than a story typically does.
This is a wild guess, Eric, but do you think most people who are going in for the genre-fied The Woman in the Yard experience, do you think a majority of cinephiles are probably disappointed, or do you think they'll say, oh, this went left. Okay, I'm cool with it, with the poem situation. I'll go down
there's
this.
people that would be confused but intrigued, and then there's people that will be confused and not like it.
Oh, I'm really excited to see The Woman in the Yard.
And it all just comes down to like how whether or not you can pull it off, but it also comes down to whether or not the person watching it is into that or can follow that. Well, like Beau is Afraid, for example, I think Ari Aster did something similar. I just didn't respond to it, but Bruce did. Bruce totally picked up what Ari Aster was setting down. Eddington a little less, because Eddington was a little more. It wasn't as ambiguous as Beau is Afraid is. It was just more messy. But yeah, Woman in the Yard totally worked for me.
I completely still, after all these years, I do not know how to pronounce his name, but it's director Jaume Collet-Serra, and he's done a whole bunch of interesting movies, including Gone on Netflix, which I liked from last year. He also did Black Adam, which I saw in the theaters. I liked the movie. It was fine.
Woman in the Yard's much better than Black Adam.
And I have not seen Jungle Cruise yet. The other movies, I'm a Liam Neeson fan, so I liked The Commuter. I liked Run All Night. I liked Nonstop. I think he did Unknown. Yes, he did Unknown. And of course, Eric's favorite movie from this director is Orphan. Well, yeah. I'm just kidding. Eric.
So this is the only good movie this person's done.
Oh boy, here we go on that. I'm glad. Maybe who knows? Maybe I'll like The Woman in the Yard as well. Tell us.
You know what? That's exciting to me though. Like who's it? The guy that did the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance on Netflix.
All right, I didn't see that. No, I apologize for that. Yeah,
I had to look it up. That it was a director.
But you like watching movies and you like it, and you realize when you go on IMDb that director, he or she, had not done a movie that you liked until then. So that's a nice surprise.
Like I knew that they were doing the Louis Leterrier.
Oh, okay, Louis Leterrier. Yeah, he did. I think what did he do?
Because I think they did Unleash. No, they did Unleash. Unleash was rad. But they also did like the Incredible Hulk. Not great. I know people that are MCU apologists think it's good. It's not, but whatever. Yeah, Clash of the Titans, Now You Can See Me was fine. But like when I saw that they were doing Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, I'm like, oh man, like why? And then I watched it and I'm like, oh, this is actually really damn good.
Oh, very cool.
So it's always exciting when like a filmmaker that I generally don't like can kind of come and say, hey, bam, here you go. It's like, oh wow, this is damn good. Now I didn't go into Woman in the Yard knowing that, you know, who the director was. I found that out later, but
yeah,
you know, it's always cool if you can get like they got The Long Walk. Okay. That's coming out. Not the Matty Doe movie, but the Stephen King adaptation, The Long Walk coming out. And the director of that did I'm Legend.
Francis Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah. Francis Lawrence.
Constantine. Yeah.
Not great movies.
Water for Elephants. No, is that the movie? I think Water for no something. I don't know. Forget. But no, it's
anyway.
Okay.
That doesn't inspire a bunch of hope, especially since he ruined the adaptation of I Am Legend.
Dude, did you see Joan Macaulay Sarah's? Did you see Carry On from last year, from 2024?
No.
Do you know what Carry On is?
No.
Why don't you look it up? Carry On. Carry On. Eric Holmes looking up Carry On. It's directed by Joan Macaulay Sarah. It was released in 2024. It's a Netflix film. I enjoyed it. I think I reviewed it on CinemAddicts very quickly. Can you tell me who else stars in it other than Taron Egerton? Anyone else?
Jason Bateman.
Do you know anyone? He's a bad guy. Who else is in Carry On? Do you see anyone else?
Daniel Deadweiler. There you go. Oh, but anyway, so that
you cool with that? Movie, you gonna watch? Oh, you gotta watch. You have to watch Carry On.
I'm watching everything with Daniel Deadweiler. I'm gonna Kirk Douglas her and just go through her whole filmography.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah, with The Long Walk, like the Francis Lawrence, I don't hardly like any of his movies, but the trailer for Noah looks good. So that might be the one that filmmaker I don't like that turns out a movie that I do. We'll see what happens.
By the way, before we get out of here, when you see Carry On, which you will see because it stars Daniel Deadweiler and it's directed by Joan Macaulay Sarah, and you're giving him the benefit of the doubt because it stars Daniel Deadweiler, and he also worked with her on The Woman in the Yard. So I think Carry On is a must-see for you, Eric Holmes. I will say one thing. I will spoil one little thing about this movie, which is headlined by Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman. Best action scene in the movie, you know what that is? Guess who stars in that action scene? I'm just going to name one name.
Scott Adkins?
No. Daniel Deadweiler is in the best action sequence in Carry On. That will make you definitely watch that movie.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, you're totally in. Okay, so that's The Woman
in the Yard. Does Olga Kurylenko show up?
I know, right? Is Jesse V. Johnson doing second unit on that or first unit? We love those people. The Woman in the Yard, 4.5 stars for Eric Holmes. Again, Eddington, 2 stars. These are, one of them is a movie recommend, one of them is a movie not recommend. I am so excited to see what Bruce Purkey will think of Eddington. One more thing you got to Google. Did you like 40 Acres, Eric Holmes?
I love 40 Acres.
Can you do me a favor? Can you type in under Google, search 40 Acres Digital, 40 Acres Digital, and then press Google News. Tell our listeners what comes up first. 40 Acres Digital. 40 acres and then space digital and then put it on Google.
Didn't put digital, but it says critically acclaimed 40 Acres streaming. Daniel Deadweiler lands on digital.
Okay, so put 40 Acres and then put space on digital on your Google search bar. Try that, right? And then after that, put in Google News. So I'm telling you, this whole Google News segment that we're going to.
Yeah, it's got the same thing.
Oh, really?
Critically acclaimed 40 Acres starring Daniel Deadweiler. You don't even have to put digital. Just put 40 Acres. And that,
what are you reading? Right, what outlet is it? Is there an outlet that you're...
It's from Deepest Stream.
Okay. See? That's the first. Isn't that kind of crazy? Yeah, first. Wait, and what number of the search? How far? Was that the first one that you saw? Number 1. That means...
Yeah.
That means me, you,
Fuel, High on Films, digital journal. Y'all can kick rocks.
You can kick rocks. Anyways, if you guys want to support us, please. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of CinemAddicts, whether it's deepestdream.com, which is we're going all pot committed on this because we're not Google News, but we'll still have Find Your Films. We'll still have the Find Your Film podcast. We'll still have Movie Mainline. We'll still have what else?
Oh,
What? Yes, sir.
Emerald Heist. We'll cover that next week, but it's coming out on the 29th. Check it out.
Okay.
I'll talk more about it. I think I mentioned that last week, but it comes out on the 29th, so we'll do it next week because it comes out the day before we record the podcast, I believe.
Eric, I'll do you one better. I'll release a podcast with just your interviews for the Emerald Heist.
Yeah.
If that sounds good. And maybe after we're done recording, you could just do a little intro to that little mini podcast. I'm going to release in about several days.
Yeah.
All right. That is it. Bruce Purkey. Eric has carried this entire episode. I've just been hanging out. And this whole Eddington.
Daniel Deadweiler carried this whole episode.
Exactly.
And a couple star people did as well.
Of course. Eric Holmes, thank you so much for carrying this episode 304. Here is Bruce Purkey. He has 2 reviews this week, by the way, because he has a good excuse why he only did 2 reviews. And Eric does not know this, but I'll let Eric listen to the cinematic and listen to why Bruce Purkey only did 2 movie reviews, which is fine. I totally excuse him.
Wow.
He's not dead, or he's not Weiler. He's not dead Weiler. He's Bruce Purkey. He has reviews.
Bruce Alive Weiler.
Bruce Alive Weiler. Very good, Eric Holmes. I wish we had enough money to pay for these comedic drum fills, which I don't have, but he has reviews of House on Eden and Folktales. Thank you guys so much for listening to Cinematics. And before we go, I want to say something about Bruce Purkey, but let me just say something about our Patreon. For this month's Patreon, we have 2 movies from the year 1984 for our bonus episode. We will be reviewing number 1, Stop Making Sense. That's the Talking Heads documentary from 1984. Thank you, Matt Stillman, for that. Last but not least is the movie Paris, Texas, directed by Wim Wenders, starring Natasha Kinski and the late Harry Dean Stanton, I believe.
We've covered that before.
Yes, we have, and it stars Ryan Smith and Angie Clark. And you've seen that before, Eric Holmes. But yeah, you can rewatch it again. The reason why, selfishly, it came out in the randomizer. I still have not seen Paris, Texas. So I'm excited for us to talk about Paris, Texas. I'm excited to do Stop Making Sense. The assigned pick, unfortunately, Bruce and Eric will not have to do that next week because there is a movie called Is There No Beer in Heaven? It's a documentary, I believe, on polka music, which Joseph Bridges recommended.
Maybe we'll watch that.
No, you can because it's on Criterion, and I don't believe it's on digital. But
might have to get Criterion. Go find it.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, Eric's saying now that I got Google News, he's got to start spending all our burger money left and right. Eric, let's have cooler jets on this. We'll see. You will find out. Is there no beer in heaven? We'll see. Maybe Eric Holmes will join me on this assigned pick. Anyways, that's enough from us. Here's Bruce Purkey over at the Cinematic.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Cinematic, the attic of cinema. I am back this week. I climbed down from the attic. He gave me a ladder this week. I don't know. He thinks I'm more nimble than I am, but whatever. I did find a way to make it down. Will I make it back up? I'm not so sure. So this week, I've only got 2 movies. Why did I only watch 2 movies? What am I up to? First of all, I've watched a lot of series with my wife, but they're not really worth discussing here. And I spent a lot of time playing The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. And you might be saying to yourself, but Bruce, that's a 10? How long has that game been out? I think about 10 years. And why are you playing that old game, Bruce? I started playing it 10 years ago. And then lost interest or got distracted. I don't know what happened. I just forgot about it. Then recently I saw them putting out a bunch of footage proving how good the new version is going to be when it comes out. Witcher 4 is coming out in a year or so. And they're saying, look how cool it looks. And I was like, why did I never finish that game? It's renowned. People love The Witcher 3. So I went back and found my save game from 10 years ago and I kept playing and now I'm still playing it. So it's pretty great. I guess I should probably watch the series on Netflix. I just never have. But today, I'm talking about 2 movies. I'm talking about Folktales, and I'm talking about House on Eden. Let's get into it and get going. Folktales is by Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady. This is a documentary. Now, I don't know if it was produced from Norway, but it takes place in Norway. I'm assuming it's a Norway production. Essentially, it's about the folk school, folk high school is what they call it. Like socially, there's this idea, there's this year between high school and kind of adulthood, this last stage that some people can go through in like Norway culture and in a way to find out who you are as an adult and find your way, get centered, all this kind of stuff. It sounds very hippy-dippy. It is a little bit. There are some questions I have, even after watching this movie. But the idea is they can end up going to this school, and basically they're north of the Arctic Circle, live somewhat off the grid. They still have cell reception and electricity and stuff like that, but they're living pretty rustic lifestyle in kind of this organized setting where they mostly are learning how to have outdoor skills, and they're learning how to do dog sleds. That's a big part of it. How to communicate with dog sleds and make them work well and drive them, learn how the dogs work, become one with the earth, all this kind of stuff. Once again, it sounds very hippy-dippy. And like I said, it is what it seems like from this documentary is that it's a lot of times for people who are a little bit lost or a little bit having trouble coping or fitting in with society totally. That's the one thing. Okay, we'll get into the unclear parts of this for me. One part of it, is this available for everybody? Because if what we're watching here is we probably see the school that we're watching is maybe, I don't know, maybe there's 50 students, 100 students. I wasn't quite clear, but it's not like a ton of students. And you can see why. I mean, it's a pretty intensive, almost like a extended winter camp in a way. And I don't know how the whole society would all go through this. And I kind of wonder, is it available for everybody? Do you have to be rich to have this? Is it part of the social structure, the way that medicine is probably socialized there and a lot of other things are? It comes out of tax dollars. But I still wasn't clear how they decide who goes on this and who doesn't go on this. And is it available for everybody? That would be my big starting questions on this. That being said, we kind of really focus in on three main students. So we have kind of a point of reference on the paths that these people take. One of them is Hege, and she's 19, and her father had died. Actually, he'd been murdered. Had a bar fight sort of a deal, and he got murdered pretty recently, and she's having a really tough time coping with that, kind of feeling like what's her point in life, and what is she going to do with her life, and how is she going to find joy again, stuff like that. You got Bjorn, and he's just in some ways your stereotypical nerd. He's a big dude though. He's not the skinny guy with glasses nerd, but he's the kind of nerd where he's a big doofus sort of dude. And you can tell he just has a really hard time socially fitting in and finding out how to be comfortable in his own skin. And then the one I think they really focused on Hege the most, but then they brought in this guy named Romain. And honestly, he became the one that I think was the most compelling and the most interesting to follow all the way through. And Romain has really bad social anxiety and lack of confidence. And he is one of those kids of the three. You look at him this is just a good looking, young, fit guy that's probably 18 or 19. He's going to have the world at his feet. But you can tell he just doesn't, for whatever reason or not, he just doesn't fit in, and he doesn't, it's almost like you get the feeling pretty early on that he has serious depression. And he's having a really hard time coping with life in general. And you see all this manifest as they go through the various things. One of the things is they're just learning how to take care of the dogs and kind of meeting with the dogs and trying to learn how to let go of their own ego a little bit. And how do you care for this being that we have here that we're going to use for a dog sled, but also going to just have as a companion of some sort. But with Romain, you see, he really connects really quickly with the dog. As far as it's something that kind of unconditionally gives him attention and love. But for everything else, he has a really hard time, even connecting or engaging with the stuff they're trying to get them to do. For example, one of the big events they have in the school is they have this kind of a 2 or 3 day outing where essentially each student is on their own. There are people nearby to help them if it gets really bad. You can remember, this is north of the Arctic Circle, I don't know, just a stone's throw from the Russian border. So everything here is super cold, super snowy. And they each have this 3 day period where they're going to go out there. They basically just going to have a dog with them. They need to set up their own camp. They need to keep a fire going and try to get some kind of a shelter. They have maybe just a tent, I think a small tent, and they just need to survive out there. It's not like they're going to let them die probably, but the kids have to put in effort to make it physically and emotionally for this kind of 2-3 day little survival episode. And this Romain kid, you can see, it's just not even, he's wanders off to find the adults to say, hey, what am I supposed to eat? And they keep telling him things like, hey, you got to wear a hat, dude. You got to wear something on your head. It's cold out here. And he's like, or gloves. And he's like, I don't want to wear gloves, that kind of thing. So this kid has a really hard time just engaging at the most basic level. And you watch his journey for this year And I think, like I said, I think he's probably the most compelling kind of as a story, in a sense, of watching this go. So overall, what's my take on Folktales? Interesting because it's something that doesn't really exist in the United States. And I think to a lot of degrees, I think the Nordic nations, you think of them as having, so like I said, again, socialized healthcare and all these other like social benefits. And a lot of say the taxes are really, really high, but they're doing all these things for the social good. I think in most cases, I'm really supportive of a lot of those kind of things. And I think we very much, to our own detriment, don't even try to embrace some of these things that would be better for society, contributed from everybody in society. Once again, just a political idea. I think it makes a lot of sense. The one big question I have with this is, after watching the whole thing, and it seems like a really positive kind of a program, but once again, I had nagging questions throughout the whole thing that I really wish the documentary would have addressed. Number one, like I said, is it available for everybody? And how do they determine who gets to go? Or is it just everybody gets to go? That was my number one question, because I want to know that. Because if not everyone can go, then once again, it's like in America, you ask yourself, like, why is this only available to some people if it's so valuable and not available to other people? And wouldn't it be to society's benefit to let everyone do this kind of a thing? Now, if it is available to everybody, my second question is like, I wanted to see, does it really work? Does it work for people? And that's the other thing I didn't get a true feeling for by the end of this. Now, I know we only followed 3 people, but this feels like one of those things that would really benefit from a 28 approach, which, if you don't know, that's that series of documentaries where they follow these kids from 7 years, and then every 7 years, they'd come back and see how their lives were progressing. And it was this giant project, I should say. And I forget, Michael Apted? Do I have the name right? I don't know if I have the name right. I'm doing it off the top of my head. Anyway, the director and producers of that documentary would keep going back year after year. It was a British set of kids. And by the end of it, I know it had gone 50 or more years, and some had died, and some touching the path of somebody's life. In this movie, I think, similarly, for this program, I want to see, like, the people who went through this program, like, did it give them that kind of needed perspective and balance that you need to get to work your way into adulthood and be able to cope and to thrive in adulthood? Or did it not do anything? And that's kind of the thing I wasn't sure about by this movie. Because from the outside, especially from the U.S. approach to things, I could see people who are much less liberal than me watching this and just being like, that's just a bunch of, like I said, hippy-dippy BS. For me, being really receptive to the idea of it, my biggest kind of out of the gate sort of question would be, is this anything much different than, say, rehab? Because you're putting people in a setting where it's someone guiding them, it's idyllic, but in a lot of ways, it's also a little bit of an escape from the world. It's a little bit, I don't know, like I said, summer camp / winter camp, where it's easy to cope with things and find community and to find meaning and stuff when you don't have all these daily grind responsibilities and things in the world that you can't avoid when you're out there having to make your own living and take care of yourself and make money and keep all those kind of things that are a lot harder to cope with than basically someone makes your food, you have a place to sleep, and you can learn how to take care of dogs and do a dog sled. So I want to see how this translates to their real lives as time goes on. So that was my biggest gripes with this. I'd say I'd probably go 3.5 because I was engaged. It was really enveloping, and just as a vibe kind of a movie, just being in this environment, for me, I found it compelling and interesting. I could see some people being a lot less interested, though. I could see them wanting to have a lot more stuff going on. But for me, it was enough just to have the people in the setting and see what that world was like. But it could have been great if I had those other questions answered for me. So 3.5 for Folktales. My next one is House on Eden, directed by Chris Collins. Starring and written by Chris Collins, playing Chris. I didn't write them down, but Chris and Selena, two people in this, 2 of the 3 people that are the main actors in this movie, both, I guess, are known YouTubers. I think Chris is known as Call Me Chris, and Selena, I forgot to write it down. It's like Boo Boo Selena or something like that. So sorry for anyone who knows who she is. And I think they're both comedic / kind of paranormal YouTube site type channels, from my understanding. I didn't really investigate them too deeply, as you can tell. Anyway, House on Eden. Its 3 main characters are Chris, as I said, Chris Collins, Selena Myers, and Jason Christopher Myers. Now, what is this? What is House on Eden? This is your classic found footage setup. They are a group of amateur YouTuber paranormal investigators who like to go to various locations and set up their own little amateur, ghost hunt, and then put those onto YouTube. They don't seem to live stream them. They seem to just record them. They all have multiple cameras, and they do their investigations and they post them. You don't really get to see any versions of what they posted. It would have been nice to have maybe a little montage of some of their previous haunts that they did. But this one is basically, they're heading out. I don't know if they said what state they were in. It looked to me like the South, but I don't know for sure. Either way, they're driving around and they're heading towards the cemetery. But Chris, who's the de facto leader here, she says, no, we're taking a detour. There's this house I found, and I don't think anyone's really investigated it. So we're going to really be the first to go there and really give it a good investigation. And I located it, and it's not too far from our original path. Let's go there. And the other two are grumbling about that, but they decide, okay, fine, let's go do it. And off they go to investigate the house on Eden. I think Eden is like a road nearby, but they just keep calling it's called House on Eden, but it's like really it's House on Eden Road or Eden Lane or something like that. Anyway, they go off and all the things happen. It's like, that's the problem. So there's a couple knocks against found footage movies. Now, one of the big knocks at people that don't like found footage movies is they will say, well, it's like 90% people just walking around doing stuff that would not be interesting if they knew there wasn't going to be something spooky or scary or supernatural or crazy happening. And you're really just standing around waiting the whole time. Like, perfect example, you got Blair Witch, right? And it was a big phenomenon, partly because of its internet campaign and kind of this viral, early viral kind of nature of it. But a lot of people complained that the actual movie was just basically them talking and walking around the woods, finding a couple things, and then eventually maybe finding something supernatural at the end, but not really much happening overall. I still support that movie, but I also get that kind of criticism of it. Another, Paranormal Activity, huge indie movie, found footage movie. But if you look at it, a lot of it is literally someone standing around in a bedroom at night waiting for something to move or bump in the night, but not much else going on. So once again, that's the knock on the classic kind of found footage format. So the question is, does this do anything different? Not really, not much. I think the big angle this one has is the real YouTubers playing YouTubers in this thing. I think the gimmick, I guess, of this one. But I don't want the characters to be a gimmick unless the characters are super interesting. But the characters here are just pretty basic. They're the bossy main woman in Chris who tells everyone else what to do and drags them along for the fun. And then Selena, the goth sort of little goofier, maybe metal chick, but she's a little more, I don't know, sarcastic and stuff. Once again, we don't get to know much about her. And then the other dude is just like the camera guy that they just constantly are telling, like, kind of mad at him all the time. Like, where's the camera? You left the camera somewhere or something like that. But nothing much happens in this movie. It's them just, for part of the time, they're walking around the woods and, they found a ring of stones in the woods. Ooh. Then they find the house, and the house is like immaculate. This immaculate kind of Victorian sort of house in the middle of nowhere that is untouched and not dusty or broken down, and looks like someone was just living there like 10 minutes ago. But there's no electricity, and that's supposed to be spooky enough. It's just not very spooky. It's not very funny. It's not very interesting. You gotta give me something. And I know it's a low-budget indie movie, but that's not an excuse for not having something compelling happening, either with the characters themselves or the plot. You gotta have one of the two or both. Preferably both. Preferably bring something really new to the table here and really give us something cool. I would put out Deadstream. Deadstream happened, came out 3 years ago now, I think it's also on Shudder. I think this movie's going to be on Shudder, House of Eden. Deadstream came out, like I said, about 3 years ago, and it had a low budget indie kind of feel to it, about an online YouTube streamer. But what that movie had was, first of all, it was tons of humor. It had some really cool independent kind of effects. It had a really engaging lead character because he was just this total a-hole, like almost semi-canceled, discredited YouTuber who was always trying to do these big shocking things to get clicks. Obnoxious, but hilarious. So you had a great setup in that movie where the streamer trying to make his comeback by going to this house and trying to get the clicks and all this kind of stuff, and they just set it up, and you want to see what happens to him. You want terrible things to happen to him, and there's lots of supernatural stuff that happens, kind of fun and inventive in that movie. And it was just thinking back on it, I was like, that's the perfect example of why this movie, House on Eden, I already forgot the name of it, was just the exact opposite. Like, they did the bare minimum with this. They thought, we're known YouTubers and we have cameras and we have a setting that we somehow got control of. That's going to be enough. And it wasn't. Not compelling, not scary, not funny. It was short. It was 70 something minutes. So I'll give it that. All right. 2 stars. That's unfortunately about all I can muster for House on Eden. And you say, Bruce, why isn't this 0 stars or 1 star? It was a little independent production. They did something. If it would have been made by a major studio or a Blumhouse or something and they put this out, I would probably go 1 star or less. But because it's a scrappy little production, I would hope for them to do something that I would really love. But I can't go more than 2 stars for this. So House on Eden, that's all you get. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. A very short show. But next week, I think we're going to have, I don't know if we have more movies coming. I haven't seen what screeners are coming down the pike. Usually we have quite a few. And on top of that, next week we do our 1984 Patreon episode, which I think we have Stop Making Sense. Why has my brain forgot the name of it? Because I'm old, that's probably why. The Talking Heads music doc, concert doc. And we also have Paris, Texas. And then there's one other movie that's the extra one that we put on the main episode, and I forget what it's called. It's like No Beer in Moscow or something weird like that. I've never even heard of it. But Paris, Texas and Stop Making Sense, I've seen both of them within the last 3 or 4 years. So they're pretty fresh in my mind, but I think I will probably drop in and at least watch Paris, Texas again. I watched Stop Making Sense like a year ago. I might watch it again too. I'll at least watch part of it again because I remember it being really interesting how it builds and how the band members keep joining the crowd as the concert moves along. But Paris, Texas is one of my all-time favorites of that kind of subgenre movie. So I'm looking forward to checking it out for probably I want to say 4th time in my life, maybe 5th, at least 4th probably. I think I saw it twice early in when about the time it came out, and then I saw it about 4 years ago. All right, guys. Hope you have a good week. Oh, I really wanted to see Eddington this week, too, but I just have not had the time to get in and watch that. I probably will get it before it goes out of the theater. I know it'll only be in the theater probably for a week, so I may or may not be able to see it. I'd love to, but life is busy. All right, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. I have to go back in the attic because that is my fate. Bye.